what they're doing. They're running us around.
Okay, so this one I want to talk about mechanisms, particularly software mechanisms, but we're going to use mechanical examples. So before I was aware of how much I disliked crypto blockchain, before I knew anything about blockchain, I took a dive and I read the Bitcoin white paper. And I distinctly remember being taken aback, or enamored by the mechanisms that were described in that paper, how elegant and simple they were. The ability to create this chain of information that was kind of wrapping itself up into itself to ensure that anything further down the chain can't be modified without it ruining or being detectable. That's a very crude explanation, so please don't get caught up on that. Anyway, the point was that I remember being so kind of taken aback by the description of the mechanism and really not thinking about the implications of something like that. Just being so taken by how well it achieved this goal of immutability, digital immutability, that I couldn't help myself comparing it to things and to thinking about how that could be useful. For example, I always felt there was this comparison between it and like a watch or a clock mechanism. Things like the lever escapement have always been really interesting to me because of how elegant they achieve these goals of, like taking an unpredictable energy source and turning it into a predictable beat, and which have that same effect where you see it and you really want it. You really want to feel like, you really want to believe that it can do more things. Like something so beautiful and elegant must be so powerful and so useful. And I think that's usually like a misguided belief, because the lever escapement in a clock was created to achieve a clock, right? And that's what it was created for, right? The need to create a clock mechanically led to these mechanisms coming together to achieve that thing, right? Just like the need to create Bitcoin. Just want to cut in here with a quick disclaimer. I'm about to say something about Bitcoin, which makes it sound like I'm pro Bitcoin. I am very much not that. I am just saying something to illustrate the point that the thing that the mechanism was created to achieve is the only thing usually that it achieves. Nothing else. Led to the blockchain being created for it. And anything else that happened around Bitcoin using a blockchain, I think, is a result of mechanism lust, right? This need to believe that it can be used for more and it can do more. I think the whole industry of enterprise blockchain tools for things like supply chain management or tracking work processes with like immutable records, they were all results of just wanting to believe that this mechanism can do more. And this is, in my eyes, just another version of putting the product before the use, right? It's the reversal of the design process. You really want to make something because it's cool, and then you're in a situation where you're looking for killer apps because you now need to find ways that it can be useful. But this is a little different in that you're so obsessed with the product, the thing, that you're hypnotized in believing that it must be able to do something because of how impressive it is. And LLMs and generative AI falls into this category as well, right? Just because it can create these impressive seeming outputs, there is this need to believe that it is actually powerful. Also, seeing how much power goes into it gives the assumption that much power must be coming out of it, right? That much, the energy is being transferred one to one. So I think it's really interesting when you do criticize something for its usefulness, without speaking about the complexities or the elegance of the mechanisms behind it, and then you get somebody saying to you, well, you are criticizing it because you don't understand how it works. It's such a disconnect on their part between what it means for something to be useful and to actually do something versus the complexity or the skill that has gone into making it, or the elegance of the thing in how it works. And understanding that is important if you do want to be weighing up the balance between how useful it is and how it works, because then you're in a situation like we are in with LLMs, where you do have to understand those two things to be able to say, well, all of this energy that goes into creating it and all of this energy that goes into actually making this beautiful, for lack of a better term, this beautiful mechanism work produces this. Is this worth all of this? But otherwise, just to be able to say whether something is useful or whether something is doing something important doesn't require you to understand how it works. The mechanism is invisible and should be invisible.